Starting in three, two, one. Hey, yo, guys. What's good? We're just gonna be talking about the news again. Recent news. A lot of shit has happened since our last episode.
Mhm. Various things, events, things of that nature.
Yeah, dude. What the fuck has been going on? I swear to God, capitalism is just getting more and more accelerationist. You know,
Mhm.
these are decades where I think Lenin's quote was honestly the original "fuck around, find out." The decades nothing happens, decades weeks where decades happen. Um,
Yeah. Well, there's definitely something tectonic, like, in the sense that, like, pressure builds up and there's kind of, moments where that's
oh yeah.
released.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of these issues that we're dealing with have been going on for decades. Decades. I mean, I think that neoliberal world order is just does that sound anti-Semitic? Neoliberal world order. Is that
Yeah, it kind of does, yeah.
um but I think the neoliberal world order is just
Mhm.
it's getting destroyed. Like it can't keep up the way it's been operating. And it's been trying to like keep all these fucking contradictions within itself and it just can't anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely I mean, I think it's a combination of a lot of different things, though. It's not just like um straightforward crisis of capitalism. I think there's a lot that's coming to a head. There's so many transformations, technologically
Yeah.
that are, really accelerating things. There's just a lot happening at once, like global instability as a result of various wars. It's a lot going on. It's definitely frightening, but interesting.
Yeah, yeah. We can start out with Israel's plans to take over Gaza. So Israel has announced
The evil news.
the evil news. Yeah, let's just
Yeah.
get out the Hitlerites out of the way. Israel's just basically announced a plan for the full military seizure of Gaza. It's calling it like Operation Gideon. Which like is that a biblical reference?
The fucking names that they come up with, I'll look it up and see in a second, but the names that people come up with, like, I remember in, like, the Bangladeshi genocide, they called it Operation Searchlight.
Hmm.
Uh, Searchlight, like, it's crazy, like, the like, the names they come up with for that kind of diabolical stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, the plan is just to put all Gazans into a concentration camp, controlled by like U.S. mercenaries, which is like the only small.
Sorry. Like, Gideon, yeah, it is a Bible reference, for those of you who don't know, he is in Judges, 6 to 8 in the Book of Judges, and he was a military leader, a judge, and a prophet who, called for the victory of the Midianites, on behalf of the tribe of Israel. That was great.
What?
I'm sure that's exactly, I'm sure God would love, genocide and extermination of, people. That's awesome.
Yeah. What story do you think they're telling themselves right now with like this name, like with this judge that declared victory? Like what we're conquering the bad people from the Torah or something?
I mean, but it's just like the yeah, the Midianites, the Amalekites, and the, like, basically Bedouin people, people lived in, like, Negev desert, like, who kind of would harass the kingdom of Israel in the Bible, right? And, were kind of a thorn in the side of the kingdom of Israel until, Gideon smited them and, struck them all down. Like, it's in the Christian Bible too, like, in Judges, but I mean, it's like just a delusional and monstrous fantasy that this is like, an enemy, and that this is a real threat,
Yeah.
to Judaism, to Jewish people, and then I think also a lot of people just don't give a fuck anymore. At a certain point, you're in too deep. Like, once you've started, going down the genocidal path, you're, you know, any half measures will be admitting that you are. engaging in it in the first place. So you kind of just need to double down and double down and double down.
Absolutely. I mean, Moshe Feglin. I mean, this former Israeli politician. He got right up on their Channel 14 news and he said every single baby in Gaza is the enemy and they're drinking the milk of their mothers. He straight up said Hamas isn't our enemy; it's the kids. And so this plan, it's basically just the Holocaust. Like they're gonna put all the Gazans into this small concentration camp with this biometric control of the aid. They're gonna scan people. They're gonna make sure they're not connected to Hamas. They're gonna control who gets the aid with U.S. mercenaries. I mean, it's a horrific dystopian 21st century Holocaust, and people are only going to get a couple kilos of food every 2 weeks. I mean, that's just
I don't think people are gonna get any. I mean, I don't think people are gonna be getting food, or I think at this point it's pretty much like very clear that the goal is simply to exterminate people as
yeah,
quickly and with the best possible optics. I mean, even like there was some like I forget exactly the context if it was a column or if it was a politician, but somewhat Israeli like personality, like prominent figure said like we need a Holocaust. Like that's right, like H and like spelled it out. Like this is exactly what we need to do, and you need to, man up and stop, being so scared of this term. But it's it's uh it's completely delusional to think that they'll be able to do this. I mean, it's just gonna be horrific and, I mean, protracted and just, you know, like, the idea that this is gonna be the end of it, they just kill everyone in Gaza, this is gonna be the end of it,
mhm,
is just so delusional. Um
absolutely. I mean, they're sort of drawing themselves into a longer conflict that is just going to be um uh, it's going to push Israeli society itself to the extremes, especially as they draw up like reservists, and a lot of Israeli soldiers don't want to go. I mean, they're getting PTSD, which is like great. I don't care, but I don't know. I have faith that the Palestinians can resist this.
yeah, well, I mean people will continue to resist this kind of thing, for as long as they possibly can. So, and also Israel is a tiny country that is at this point, it seems like they've alienated the EU. Seems like the EU is trying to wash the blood off of its hands, pretty desperately at this point because they realize like, this is just like a totally, you know, deranged country. Um, and that, that any idea that they're gonna be able to, like, get them to do it in a way that's sneakier or slower or, looks nicer is just not gonna happen. And now they're, I think, definitely freaking out. But that's gonna all of that's gonna come back around and really, really gonna I mean, it's gonna, like, dismantle the fabric of Israeli society, like, it's
Absolutely.
not sustainable at all. I mean, it was very difficult for the United States to sustain all of the genocide and, like, settler expansion, and there was all kinds of, like, internal contradictions and civil war and the Civil War too was really, originated politically as an issue over whether the new Western states should be slave states or free
Mhm.
states. And, like even a country as massive and powerful and resource rich and autonomous and independent as the United States nearly tore itself apart in the process of genociding and colonizing. Israel is not, I mean, Israel relies completely on the West. This idea that they can become like independent from the West and just be this, mini Nazi Germany in the Levant is absolutely delusional.
Yeah, yeah, especially the greater Israel idea. I think the most horrific thing is just watching this live stream starvation. I mean, this very slow death. Aid trucks have not entered Gaza into 3, almost coming up to 4 months now. Only 9 aid trucks have been allowed in, and two of them were carrying body shrouds. So they're getting, it wasn't even food. And these pictures of these like starving babies, I think, is on everybody's mind. I mean, it's impossible not to see it and just like feel absolutely fucking you know, uh, 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 you're tugging at your humanity. And Israeli society itself, they've sort of realized that they've lost the optics so bad that they have to go mask off. There's no way you can justify in a nice liberal setting, um, babies with their ribs sticking out and withholding food to 2 million people. And so I think like Moshe Lewin or Faglin, Moshe Faglin, these guys have the stupidest fucking names. Is that anti-Semitic to say?
I don't know.
They have
Maybe.
stupid ass names. Who the fuck names their kid Moshe Faglin?
The names are not stupid because they're Jewish names, but, that does sound like a dumb I mean, it's dumb to be saying, like, this, Nazi ostensibly said this, and that's his name. That is dumb in that sense, no question.
Um, yeah, we're just gonna ignore what I said. Um, um, he's straight up saying like the babies are fucking enemies. He said like, yeah, no, 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 it's not Hamas, it's the babies. We're after the babies. Like that is fucking crazy. But I think Israeli society is realizing like, the mask is off, right? Like you can't really pretend to be a liberal democracy. Oh, what were you saying before in our private conversation about how and I found it really interesting about how what's most horrific about Gaza, I think, with us is that it's not being done by military dictatorship, it's being done by Western liberal democracies.
Well, it, like, breaks apart the lie of liberal democracy, which is that it cares about human rights, that it's, like, sanitized, that that it's a way of making sure things that are this egregious don't happen, that it cares about human rights and so on. But it totally breaks us apart, and it makes it very important for Western officials, countries, institutions, politicians to resist people recognizing this as genocide as much as they can. Because if you admit that, then you admit that liberal democracy is full of shit, basically. And I think that's um, rather than just like simple bloodlust, that explains a lot of why there's so much reticence to recognize this for what it is.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier for us to justify, let's say, like the Rohingya genocide, or because like this isn't like a Western liberal democracy that's supposed to be the
It's
create.
part of it. Yeah, civil wars, like ethnic and like religious hatred, like things that are backwards, things that don't exist in the liberal democracies because we figured it out. We figured out human nature and how to get along, essentially, right?
Absolutely. And I think this goes, I mean, everything that America and the West and the EU said about Ukraine, and our mythology around the Ukraine-Russo war has been pretty much broken in Israel. I mean, it's the complete double standard. You can see it almost in every single way. Even the way like Israel's allowed to play in fucking Eurovision. And the fact that Israel has to rig the elections in Eurovision, all the embassies have to pay for ads for people to vote, and they only got second place. I mean, I think that shows that they're slowly but surely. I mean, it's very slow. It's a slow trickle, but they're on sort of a losing side. You know.
Yeah. Well, there's only so much you can like, you know, just do this kind of thing. I mean, and they also sort of fucked it up. You're supposed to do that whole like I think it was 1934 Olympics, Nazi Germany. Yeah, like you have to do that whole like 1934 Olympics thing before you start doing the genocide. Like you can't do it after. It becomes pretty obvious what you're trying to do.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, Israel might honestly try to hold an Olympics. I feel like and then that would be awful, bro. Actually, I mean, there's a certain event in Palestinian history that would be funny if it repeated if they tried to hold an Israeli Olympics. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, the worst part, one of the most terrifying prospects of that is having to listen to the music that they listen to, the worst EDM music you ever heard in your life. That would be pretty horrifying, personally.
brother, brother, I swear to fucking God, Okay, and I get my news from memes, right? So, like, anybody listening to this, we're not the best source of news. I'm not gonna say we're all right. We're medium, right? Like on our accuracy.
I think this is 100% accurate. Everything here is true.
Brother, I swear to God, Kanye is top 2 on Israeli Spotify.
Who is?
Kanye, World War III, his fucking album World War III is top 2 on Israeli Spotify.
That's crazy.
I mean, he literally has a song called "Kill the Jews," and that's what they're listening to, bro. They're listening to him talking about sucking his cousin's dick.
That's
Like,
crazy.
I don't know.
It is, I guess it's kind of like there's some fascination because it's like it's such blatant, like, actual anti-Semitism, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
it's like, yes, reassurance, I guess there are, like, you know it's not just, like, people speaking up about the genocide who we really need to stretch and kinda squint to say that these are people motivated by anti-Semitism. There also is just this very obvious blatant, like, I mean, literally making music, songs like Heil Hitler, and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that, a self-victimization is so needed within the Zionist worldview because it's like and especially, like, Nazis outright Nazis sort of do feed into that because it's like, "Oh, look, then everything I'm doing is justified because there is hatred against Jewish people." I think Kanye is, like, one of those people that sort of feeds into the Zionist self-victimization narrative where they need to be a victim in order to justify their, actions.
Uh,
Um
yeah.
Moving on, again, Israel. I mean, Israel just dominates the fucking news stories for but this is a little bit of a funny-ish thing. Israel basically there were diplomats from several countries, Belgium, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Canada, Egypt, Turkey, Japan, Britain, and they were exploring the West Bank under the Palestinian Authority's invitation. They apparently, according to Israel, wandered off path, and the Israeli soldiers who were guarding that area just started firing bullets as warning shots at the diplomats. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's kind of funny, No, I find it a little bit hilarious.
Yeah, because it's like they wanted to be removed from, like, the reality of what they're supporting, but yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, what is it like? I don't know. There really actually is nothing else like it. Um, it's pretty wild.
Israeli
Well,
society.
I mean, maybe it's just some sort of karma, I guess.
I Yeah, honestly, it is. I mean, they got treated like Palestinians for like a 1 millisecond. These diplomats.
Psyching, yeah.
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 And then, what happened? Like, they called all the Israeli ambassadors. They told them to explain themselves, several countries, and then there's no consequences. I mean, really, it's
Oh, it was just to
yeah, it was just an accident.
yeah.
Um, I and I think it shows just how unhinged Israeli society is. I mean, between that, the USS Liberty, um, eh, it's really the King David bombing. I mean, it, they honestly are really super dangerous. They're such awful allies to have, and yet the West needs them as allies. They're not PR friendly at all. They're not PR friendly allies at all. That's all I can really
Yeah,
say.
USS Liberty bombing was like I don't know if I wanna say I don't know if I would wanna say it was the only good thing Israel did. I don't think I would say that actually. Yeah, but
I mean,
maybe someone would say that. I don't know.
no comment. Uh, they were investigating Israeli war crimes, to be fair, but
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess that yeah, it's pretty bad.
yeah, yeah, they were about to send LBJ a report, and then the. I mean, I'm sure a lot of those Navy men were also fighting in like the Korean War or some other shit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who knows, who knows? God'll sort it out.
Okay. Okay. We won't. Okay. Moving on. In another sort of embassy shooting, a lot's been happening with delegates and embassies. A man by the name of Elias Rodriguez, who is 31 and from Chicago, went to an Israeli event at the it was a Jewish museum, right?
Mhm.
Something like that.
I believe so. I didn't look too much into it.
He basically bought a ticket. He's at the event, and then there's 2 young diplomats, right? Their names are Yaren Lechensky and Sarah Milgram, and he pulls out a 9 millimeter and he shoots them in the back, and he shouts out "Free Palestine." He waits for the security to show up, and he, gets arrested, and his manifesto has basically said that, he did it for Gaza. Um, what do you feel about this, event?
I mean, it's definitely not like, like I
Yeah.
definitely don't think that it's certainly not something that's going to help people in Gaza. Um, and definitely like felt egotistical to me. Like, oh, I'm gonna go be this hero and I'll be able to say I did something, but it's not changing the situation in reality on the ground there. That being said, I do feel like the I do feel like the when you have so much normalization of violence, when you see like such abject suffering of millions of people and you're told that this is just part of war, this is just fine, you know, when you have violence becoming such a prominent part of American society, it's no surprise that this sort of thing starts happening because people completely lose faith in liberal institutions. They lose faith in rule of law, political processes, and so on. And so they resort to this type of thing. And so you have to look at the whole context for how this really came to be.
Yeah, yeah, it was the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. But I will say, like, Elias's response, I mean, after 2 years of normalization of the dead bodies of children, after 2 years of seeing again and again, body after body, dead kid after dead kid, just the normalization of the most abject, disgusting human violence, I think, while I won't condone what Elias did whatsoever, I think just it's such a logical conclusion that somebody would turn the weapon upward, right? Like, turn the violence upward,
Yeah, like, why don't we do this to people that, I don't like? I mean, why does it always have to be people I like? I mean, that's just a basic, like, disillusionment that people are gonna feel in general and are gonna do stuff like that.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't do a genocide and not expect the pencil pushers, right? You can't. Yeah, yeah, you can't be Nazis. You can't be Nazis for the whole world to see live streamed and not expect somebody who pushes pencils for the Nazi party to not get violenced, right? Like eventually, right? Like even if Elias's targets were like 2 low-level agents of the Israeli Zionist regime, um it's just this couple, one of them, the guy, Yaron, he actually went to Israel and served in the IDF, so he was more involved in the thing. But even if they are just pencil pushers, these boring, bureaucrats of the Israeli Zionist system, you can't expect them not to become targets when you openly for the world do a genocide. I mean, what else, can't be said? We of course don't condone this whatsoever on, this podcast, Sad Violence. I mean, I think it's horrible. Right, Henry?
Yeah, and it also is not effective. It doesn't
Yeah,
get
yeah.
anything done. I think it is also just such an egotistical thing to do. It's like, I'm gonna be some hero and like, you know, my frustration and this is another thing too, is that it's extremely upsetting to see this sort of thing. It's extremely it's extraordinarily upsetting because genocide is horrific and it makes us feel indignant and mad. But that's our problem. That's not for us to just like figure out like, well, so I'm just gonna do this. Like this is not an effective act of resistance whatsoever. It was not something that will change the situation on the ground in Gaza. So um bringing attention to himself and just like engaging in what he thought was this like heroic act is just a waste.
Mm. To some extent, I can empathize with like becoming so crazy and uh, especially in such a crazy society that it drives somebody to do this, especially when what we've seen live streamed has been done. I think the media response has been even worse. I mean, they've entirely focused on these 2 people. I mean, really, at this point, the lives of 2, white people, Israelis is worth, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians that are starving to death within the media news cycle, even more. Like, I don't think Palestinians are given any capital within the media whatsoever, and whatever mention is done of them has to be forced, from the bottom up.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think it's also like, but people also just aren't buying it. Like, it's a bit like the United Health, the murder of Brian Thompson.
yeah.
Like the people feel very, and it's a concerning sign of a sick society that people, are this supportive of just violence and murder. There's no question about it,
Mm.
and no one is more guilty than that than, liberalism, or nothing is more guilty than that than liberalism and the status quo because it normalized violence to people, and it said, "Well, we get to do it and you don't, and that's the way it is." And people don't accept that. People won't accept that, and we should run a society based on the rule of law, based on principles, um, based on ethics and morals. And if that doesn't exist anywhere, or if that doesn't exist somewhere in the society, it doesn't exist anywhere, or it won't at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, I think American society has become sort of so desensitized to violence. I mean, how the fuck is anybody even able to live a normal life at this point when, we're having this live stream genocide happening in Gaza? I mean, it makes me feel crazy. The way that anybody's able to act like anything is normal. And I think American society is living in sort of this dual world where we are able to sort of pretend that we can have a false society, but in reality, we know that we're a sick, depraved, disgusting, murderous, imperialist, colonialist society that is just butchering kids abroad in the most horrific ways, innocent people abroad. And some people will play into it and things like that. I also think the Zionist response has been awful. It's they're trying so hard. I mean, just like you were saying, it's just like the Luigi case or the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson case, where the media tried so hard, and the Zionist media and the Zionist institution are trying so hard to manufacture consent. Like, oh my God, this is so horrible. This is so look at this. This is the worst thing ever. And they're being met with absolute general apathy from the vast majority of American citizens, and they're being forced to pull the story super fast, super fast, because almost nobody gave a fuck about Brian Thompson when he died. The best you could get was like, I don't really care, like I don't really care. I don't agree with Luigi's actions. I don't agree with how he did it, but also Brian Thompson was a bad guy, and it's the same exact thing here. Like people might be horrified that they got shot, but at the end of the day, they don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, and also it's just like part of a general problem with violence being like such a normalized thing, such an acceptable thing, because the state and society is constantly trying to rationalize violence against various groups of people. So, I mean, we wouldn't be in this situation where violence is rationalized and justified if people, if the state wasn't constantly rationalizing violence.
Mm, mm. Um, to some extent, I think some people have been um it's ecstatic. I mean, that's been the other response that like, and I think when we especially when it was leaked, the man's Twitter account where he was like celebrating hospitals being bombed and he was justifying giving aid. I mean, it almost felt like for a lot of people like they could because this genocide has felt so out of their control. It almost felt like we got a little bit for these people, it felt like they got a little bit of control over this genocide. I think that's what's, sort of causing a lot of this shift in more adventurous language.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it's definitely, and it's also just like a, way to for people to feel like, "Oh, well, now we're making, Israelis scared. Now they are fearing for their lives. Now they, feel indignant," you know? Um, and I mean, it's a concerning, like, breakdown of social relations, and it's entirely, the fault of Zionism for escalating to such a horrific, crescendo of genocide. And, I think it's only gonna get worse because it's pretty clear at this point that the goal is to exterminate everyone in Gaza. So, I mean, if the goal is to do that, then that's, probably going to start happening. And then, it's going to be more alienating to more people, and it's gonna be, yeah.
Do you think there's any, I mean, American apathy is growing, right? Like, I wouldn't say, like, Americans are generally pro-violence. Um, no,
I could but America is a pretty violent country at the same time, though.
mm,
I feel like America is a pretty violent, pretty, I mean, you look at American media, American movies,
yeah.
American history, but I feel like violence has always been a pretty normalized and prevalent part of American society. Um, and I think that, it's also, like, pretty easy to tap into, people are just like, "Well, whatever, I don't like that person. Who cares if they die?"
Yeah, I mean, what I meant was revolutionary violence, like violence from the bottom to the top up. Um, I wouldn't say Americans are, like, very pro that, like, vigilante with a gun against the system. Uh,
No.
Other than, like, sort of like a self fantasy, but, like, when it happens in real life, but this growing apathy where they're like, "Well, yeah, I don't really give a fuck what happened to Brian Thompson," like, even if I don't agree with the methods, or like, uh, you know, right now, generally the feeling about these delegates, these 2 people who were, killed, it's just like, I don't give a fuck, and the Zionist
Mhm.
media is trying so hard. Do you think that this apathy is a move in some sort of general positive direction, like we are growing a little bit more revolutionary, perhaps?
Maybe. I mean, it's going to have to come from actual, like, social organization, though,
Yeah.
but but I think, like, um, one thing that does illustrate, though, is something that Zionists really resent about Palestinians, which is that they are, um, victims,
Mm,
and the view of Zionism is, really justified by the idea that, um, from what I would say is an anti-Semitic idea, that Jewish people will always be persecuted wherever they are because there's something very hateable about Jewish people. Like, I think this is, if you look at early Zionists, it's clear that they thought that the anti-Semites were onto something, when they hated Jewish people because there was something to dislike about them. And in this sense, the Zionist conception of Jewish people is that they're perpetually victims, no matter what, everywhere. And, they've created a set of very real, horrifyingly real victims, out of the Palestinians by, exterminating them. And this is, I think, a real source of resentment and becomes further justification for their extermination because you need to eradicate, the memory of, a group of people that was truly victimized, that makes Israelis look, um, like what they are, which is, just like a group of Americans in terms of how, you know, victimized they are.
yeah, or, Europeans or what have you. I mean, it's insane. I mean, I've talked to Palestinians before, who live in Israel. And they've talked about, like, yeah, we've been in college courses, and an Israeli girl has said, I feel like Palestinians are not being genocided. The only genocide is happening against us, and it happened on October 7th. Like, they absolutely need this victim mindset, and I think these delegates are part of that. Where but they're kind of failing. I mean, they've overplayed their hand. They've overplayed the anti-Semite card. They've overplayed this genocide card. Where, for a lot of people, normal people, they these 2 delegates, they were associated with a state that's doing starving those kids. I mean, why should most people feel bad for them? I think that's the general consensus. And honestly, I find myself, similar-ish feelings, you know?
And it's very disgusting too to like abuse those words in that way because ultimately it will just convince a bunch of people like, oh, well, anti-Semitism just means nothing. It's just a stupid epithet that you call someone who's, you know, going against you or whatever. And it's not an actual real type of bigotry. Um, and then that's gonna, I mean, it's just disgusting and terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, moving on to, America. Honestly, if an answer a lot, you know what? I'm not gonna say it. Moving on to America. Uh, y- we've recently had the House pass the big beautiful bill, from Trump. This is just an absolutely insane, fucking tax cut to the rich. Just the most disgusting amount of class warfare possible. Let's see, they've got $3.8 trillion dollars in tax cuts. It's gonna be from Medicaid, it's gonna be from, uh, but $700 billion dollars off of Medicaid, $290 billion dollars from food aid, $300 billion dollars from SNAP, which feeds people, 4 trillion increase in debt limit, $350 billion dollars in new spending, but all that spending is going to the Pentagon for a golden dome. We're trying to build an iron dome in America, uh, which is fucking dumb as hell. Bro, this honestly sounds like Reagan's space lasers.
No, it sounds like what Reagan did also, where he took 2 million people off Social Security overnight,
Mm.
and then did that too. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you look at the impact of Reagan's policies, it fucking upended the lives of millions of Americans. So, I mean, that's probably what's going to happen if they do this too. It seems like a lot of Republicans are against it though, because they understand correctly that the lower taxes will make the deficit worse. And also the credit, Moody's like credit rating for the U.S. dropped because they know it's going to make the deficit worse. So there's an interesting like tension there, but yeah, I don't know. Pretty dismal stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see what else. What else is fucking stupid about this bill? 45 billion to revive Trump's wall. I mean, look,
There's already like a wall there. I don't understand. Like, so stupid.
I don't know. I don't know. And also, I think Republican townhouses have become absolutely full of like angry constituents. I mean, it's getting really bad. Um, I think the Republicans are beginning to realize that if they go through with all this shit, they are gonna they are gonna start facing some societal instability. So we'll see if it goes through. I mean, if they remove the tax on silencers, though, that would be nice. Uh, that could come in handy. You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Once the society collapses as a result of this legislation.
yeah, yes, but the silencers would be for hunting because we're all hungry. Yeah. That's
Yeah. Well, yeah.
what animals we're eating. I'm not gonna say though. There you go. There you go. Uh,
Uh,
uh, yeah, no, it's this bill is just fucking. I think Big Beautiful Bill is a great name though. I think that's good marketing. Yeah.
yeah, that you gotta give that to him
Uh,
for sure.
he's such a good advertiser, honestly. He really doesn't have anything special about him. He's just a good advertiser. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty like I don't know. Even like the media will try to clip him and be like, he was rambling, he said all this stupid stuff. And you listen to the clip and you're like, you know what? I get where I get what he's saying, like the speech he gave at I think it was the Navy College.
Yeah.
He was like rambling about some guy like in real estate. I was like, yeah, no, I mean, it's like I'm following along. Like he's very like enthralling to listen to. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But that's what got him there, and that's what got us this. I
Yeah.
guess Frank Herbert was right.
when I used to work in a marketing agency, we would do these like exercises where like you would like the boss would hand you like a pen or a plant or something, and you got to come up with an advertising campaign for it. And I feel like Trump's just done that on a presidential level. Like the stuff he's pushing isn't really that special. It's just standard neoliberalism, with a little bit of mercantilism and Juche Maoist characteristics. I mean, it's hard to pin him
Yeah.
exactly, but other than that, he's a good advertiser for you know
Mhm.
what would be like a Reaganist campaign.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's like a theater of um revolution, like the ultimate example being like January 6th, like a fake revolution that, is like a play, where we get to play act like we're actually appending everything, but it's just like basically Ronald Reagan 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah, there's even a book that was not a book, a documentary that was released that was talking about Trump's connections to WWE. And well, basically what the guy was trying to argue was like just like WWE is an act, but like it's a sort of controlled act that we all know. Trump's sort of taken that to the political arena where like I think to some extent his supporters know that he's kind of bullshitting sometimes. Like uh a lot of these videos that you'll see like of farmers being like, "Oh my god, Trump fucked me over." Honestly, I think they were just thinking when Trump was on that campaign stage saying like, "I'm gonna do tariffs, I'm gonna do this." He was just bullshitting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knows what he's gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like he actually went through with some of his words that they thought he wasn't gonna go through with. And so I don't know, he's such a odd wrecking ball and a theatrical character, that
Yeah. And he also he loves theater too, which is interesting. Like he loves like Broadway and stuff, which is pretty funny.
I know. It's absolutely, it's absolutely a reality show. I mean, he was a born entertainer, um,
Yeah.
through and through. Um, Moving on from that, Kneecap is back in the news because, one of their members, Liam Ohana, has been charged with terrorism for waving a Hezbollah flag by the British government. Um,
Do they? I don't understand. What they live in Britain?
I don't know. Maybe I
I
believe
thought they
they're
were
North
Irish.
I believe they're in Northern Ireland.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
God, fuck Northern Ireland. Shouldn't exist. Anyway, sorry.
The word terrorism has always been such an anti-intellectual term, bro. Like I swear to God, it's just like a new form of like a slur, like an N word or a whatever. Like it's just, um, it
Or
really,
just like anti-state activity. Like they used to in the 1800s, they would call it like anarchist. It's just any kind of like deranged anti-state actor, I guess.
yeah, yeah, and even then, it's like it's not that unreasonable to wave a Hezbollah flag. I think like the goal is like to connect Hezbollah and ISIS and like Hamas and Al Qaeda to like as like all like one evil group. But like if you study Hezbollah, I mean obviously it's done pretty evil things, but it's pretty reasonable for the most part. It's
Yeah,
just
nothing compared to what the British government is doing right now, like in Gaza, nothing. Like and like like they're using their military bases in Cyprus like to support the genocide. Like um everything bad Hezbollah has ever done is like a ton, like 1% of that alone.
that's the thing I don't understand about white this is terrorist, like brain turning off mentality is like, do they not understand that we have done more damage to Gaza than Hamas ever conceivably could have thought of? Like, we have, like, or like the war on terror, we have killed more people and displaced more people and destroyed more communities than any terrorist group could have even conceived of or imagined, even if they tried to. Like, does that ever get through their skulls, or is it sort of just like a weird, like, double,
I don't know, I feel like it's just racism. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have
With
to
some
agree
around
with people.
racism and
Yeah.
yeah, all this nonsense.
Yeah. The way in which Israeli Jewish people are sort of in this middle ground, like they are white. They are treated as white, but they're also sort of like the special um
Yeah, they're our guys over there.
Yeah. They're sort of this like weird middle. They've played this weird middle part between white, but also like, oh, they're oppressed and they have to be like our special little babies, especially the Ashkenazi Jewish people. I don't know. They've been.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand this relationship that they have.
Between like, or just between like whiteness and I mean, yeah, it's just like they are against the Arabs, and therefore they're our allies because the Arabs are our eternal enemy. And that was, really what replaced the Soviet Union after the Cold War as like the eternal like
Mm.
Eastern menace. So yeah, pretty
Oh,
stupid.
it is, but like, how did they become like into the conception? Like, how did we even get to a Judeo-Christian sort of conception? Because it always used to be a Christian civilization. It was never Judeo, right? And now
No, 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 Zionists made it up.
Zionists made it up. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Because originally anti-Semitism was really violently directed towards Jews because they were seen as emissaries of the Ottoman Empire and of Muslims in Europe. And so they therefore did not belong in Europe, and they're fundamentally Middle Eastern, they were fundamentally Semitic. And it's like, where do we get the word anti-Semitic from? Because they were associated with Arabs. But the Zionist movement figured, well, we can turn that on its head and show that we are the most willing participants in this cause of fighting Muslims, fighting, Ottomans, so on and so
yeah.
forth, and therefore we will become both Middle Eastern again and European in the sense that we'll be on the side of Western civilization, on the side of Judeo-Christian civilization. I think that's really how the idea kind of developed.
Yeah, and they've been so successful in sort of becoming this middle ground between European civilization and the Arab hordes, to the point where like they almost get treated as Europeans on an equal footing, and yet there's also this like little special characteristic about them where Europeans have to treat them with a little special, like affirmative
Yeah,
action,
like,
you know.
Western societies are still like enormously like anti-Semitic. Like honestly though, in terms of like attitude people have, like people always emphasize like, yeah, Jewish communities in America, they're not like systematically persecuted. Like, sure, but a lot of that is a function of wealth. Like, there are definitely poor Jewish communities in the US that are marginalized for sure. Wealthier ones aren't so much. But in terms of like personal views, like, I mean, people make jokes about the Holocaust all the time. Little kids make jokes about the Holocaust. People, you know, stereotype Jewish people. People think like all kinds of things. Every stereotype about Jewish people, the average Westerner knows and like is aware of. It's like so. Yeah, they're and the vast majority of Zionists support the creation of Israel to get Jewish people out of the West, to put them back where they belong, like that. Yeah, I mean, if that's not anti-Semitic, I don't know what is.
Yeah. I mean, I've always called Zionism like anti-Semitic accelerationism because like it sort of goes to the logical conclusions of anti-Semitism, which is like Jews don't belong in Western civilization. Let's
Mhm.
get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
At
you
all
know,
costs, and if they remain in Western civilization, it's inevitable that they'll be genocided, and so therefore we have to make Israel.
yeah, and it's so weird that Zionism will play into all of the sort of classic anti-Semitic stereotypes, but they've just sort of removed the Jews. Like, there's this right now. There's according to Zionist worldview, there's like this shadow puppet government that's controlling the world, and it's pro-Hamas. Or the UN and all these agencies, or like even the Great Replacement. Like a lot of Zionist institutions are more than happy to play into Great Replacement, or Elon Musk doing the salute. And who's behind the Great Replacement? It was always like classically the Jews, like this shadowy group of elites. But now they're like, oh, you're being replaced by Arabs. We're the only thing protecting you from these Arabs that are gonna great replace you. They've
Mhm.
sort of
Yeah, like Netanyahu's speech at Congress, like, "We're not just fighting for Israel, we're fighting for all of you. In Americas, we're fighting, Islam, we're fighting the Arabs."
they just kept all the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and just removed the Jewish part. of the shadowy Shadow Master. They just replaced it with something else. But, it's always implied, I feel like, even if they don't directly say it. I don't know. I don't know. Zionism is weird, man. That's all I can say. It's kinda stupid.
For
Yeah. Um Moving on, with Harvard, Trump has basically got into a fight with them. He tried to ban all international students because he accused them of having connections to the Chinese Communist Party. He's even accused the Harvard of creating an unsafe environment, anti-American, pro-terrorist agitators that assault Jews, and that Harvard coordinates with the CPC. So, I don't know, based Harvard, I guess.
yeah, I guess they just realized that there's nothing they can do, like, Trump administration is just gonna come after them, so they figured they might as well do something, and it's the 2nd richest private institution in the world, so they have a lot of resources to fight back, and, I mean, they're probably I mean, the Trump administration is probably gonna be up to its ears in alligators, going against Harvard.
Absolutely. I mean, that's where all rich people send their kids. Like that's where the bourgeoisie send their kids to make connections. And also, they need international students to make international connections, like international business connections. Like
Mhm.
that's such a great source of revenue. Honestly, isn't this just a modern day version of nobles and like and kings and how they would like have their families mix in order to fucking solidify their dynasties?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like the bourgeoisie is generally just like a social network of people that are well connected.
Yeah.
Uh,
If that order does go through that Trump has, done, and Harvard's suing back, so it's not in the air. It's up in the air. I think Harvard might win. Um, but, I think Harvard will lose, like, 1/4 of its student body because, like, 1/4 of it is international students. So, I
so
mean
it'll just become like not Harvard anymore, basically. Like, but Columbia University was destroyed because they complied. I mean, it will never be a world class university anymore.
yeah,
Uh, they will not be able to attract like the best people in any given field. They will not be able to teach interesting classes. The university is going to die.
it's gonna become like a community college, huh?
Or well, I mean, it's still I don't think it'll become a community maybe it'll be more like
Become community college.
yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna become one of the grades like the Ivy Leagues. I mean, I think Harvard sort of learned from that. Um why are they so scared of the student movement? I mean, to some extent, it's kind of harmless. I mean, it's just kids in encampments. I mean, in tents. I mean, but they have to knock it down so
Well,
hard.
because it needs to appear like a real threat, you know? Like and also it's look, it fits with the cultural Marxism conspiracy, it fits with the, um, Islamicization of, Islamo rightism, like in France. Like, this idea that the universities are being infiltrated by leftists and by Islamists and brainwashing all the students, it's a moral panic that can sell this clash of civilization argument and then justify Israel's genocide, because they need something,
Yeah, yeah, and also it sort of gives them an enemy. I mean, within America. I mean, Hamas is taking over America through our youth. Uh,
Mhm.
that does appeal to a certain section of American society. I mean, there is a certain section of American society that always wants a war, always wants a war at its doorsteps. I mean, it might not admit it, but, like, there's always some motherfucker in Kansas who wants Hamas to show up at his doorstep, so he can see,
Yeah.
like, this great hero,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just some kid because they think they're, like, Hamas or something randomly.
Yeah. I don't know, it's this great, self-centeredness, generalization. Um, but, like, what power do college students have, honestly?
Oh, man, I don't think they have anything. I do think it shows a generational divide
Oh,
in
yeah.
terms of how people perceive things that will become a major problem for power structures in the future because people in general will think much more critically and will not just buy whatever the news is telling them, or at least they'll read what the news is telling them very critically. because of their ability to use the internet. I think that's actually does scare people, but I don't know what you can do about that short of just, getting rid of the internet altogether.
Yeah. Yeah, and, in addition to that, the internet's such a democratizing force. I mean, even if you ban it, people will just find ways to subvert any bans. Really, I mean,
Mhm.
there's always dark web.
Yeah, like in China. In China, they really tried to isolate the internet completely and censor it and all this stuff, and they're able to, really, really, like, start trends, and they have, like, ways that they can get the algorithms to, like, promote certain messaging, but they can't stop people from getting on Instagram, from going into, like, the Western internet or, whatever, like, they can't do it. I and if an organization like the Communist Party of China can't do it, there's no chance the American government can do it because there's no political will, and they just don't have the ability to do that.
Mm, mm. Honestly, I think China just protects us from Chinese shit posters. Like, that's the reason behind the firewall. They are fucking scary, bro. They really are.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm
That's
sure
true.
they'll just
Mhm,
straight up tell you to kill yourself. Like, they don't even hold back, bro. Like, I don't know.
mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. I I also think the student movement is dangerous in that it's visible. Like it's a very visible form of resistance and it's almost honorable, right? Like these students in tents taking up places for Palestine. And I don't know, you sort of fuck up when you suppress it so heavily because like you can only sell an unarmed student being bashed down by a cop so well. I don't know. Like at some certain point, like you can't just keep on saying Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. You know,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
similar to civil rights. I mean, during the civil rights movement, they would purposely, get 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 hurt in front of the camera, and the whole world's eyes were on them. And that's actually what I mean. I think the Cold War, and the tensions between that and America's claims, like, really played a big role into it. Um, I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll see how the Harvard case goes. It'll be interesting. Do you have any predictions, Henry?
However, I feel like it's really gonna be, I mean, anything short of completely undermining the legal system and just making an authoritarian grasp for power that even the Trump administration hasn't done yet, or at least would be crazy to do, they're not gonna be able to crush Harvard.
Absolutely.
It's a very powerful organization. I mean, if they just choose to not respect the courts and just do whatever they want, then, well, then we basically have a political system like, Turkey, so that's great.
I don't know. I if we're speed running Turkey, I hope we get the kebab shops. You know.
Yeah, yeah, it's no cats and no kebab shops.
Yeah, that would be the worst version of Turkey. You know, like we don't even get the cool ice cream guys. You know that do the fucking dance. You know the little they keep on taking the ice cream cone away from you. Yeah. Well, this is the worst timeline. Like this would be the worst timeline if we end up in a Turkey situation. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, where do you feel about American culture currently? Like, what's the general trend? Like, apathy, anger, tired. You know.
I feel like anger, um, like resentment and, like disillusionment are pretty strong at the moment. And yeah, people aren't, doing very well economically. Yeah, it's hard to imagine that there's a whole lot of stability going forward. But hopefully it's, turns into something positive, some kind of, real social movement that, helps improve people's lives and isn't just, chaos because, that is a really concerning possibility.
Yeah, yeah. Also, 2 hour as of 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, a man has just been arrested for trying to firebomb an Israeli embassy. So,
Oh my god.
yeah, so I think definitely the shit's going down. You know, like that's all I can say. Like there's a lot of anger, bubbling in American society, and the American proletariat can only take so much longer. If the shelves end up empty because of Trump's tariffs, which might not happen or might be delayed, because like a lot of distributors were smart and they imported a lot of stuff beforehand.
Mhm.
But if the shelves do end up empty, I think that would create just the almost incomplete turmoil, like on another level. Because
Yeah,
go ahead.
let's just like this Fox News article. The headline is best-selling author calls murdered Israeli embassy employees quote genocide cheerleaders in social media post. Anti-Israel writer Susan Abuhawa claims she's quote seen too many children's skulls to care about DC shooting victims. Like, wow, what a compelling hit piece. Like is the average like Fox News reader gonna see that and be like, well, seems like she's crazy. Seems like she's totally in the wrong. Like, it's like this is not like a total breakdown in the narrative. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the distrust in media and major institutions has reached a new high. I feel like that's never been seen before, at least in my lifetime. I when we were growing up, I forget how old you are. I think you're 2 years younger than me, right?
yeah.
Yeah. When I was growing up, like, everybody trusted Fox News, everybody trusted CNN, like, especially in the post 9/11 world, these were, like, American institutions, and now nobody can trust mainstream news anymore whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or even the government, like, people used to fucking trust the government, people genuinely trusted George Bush. I mean, there was a lot of resentment, there was a lot of, especially after the WMDs found out to be fake, but people genuinely used to trust the American government when it said something, and nowadays, we can't trust anything, and for good reason. I mean, what else?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I feel good, oh, Biden got cancer! I completely forgot about that. Biden got
Oh yeah.
ass cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you feel about conspiracy theories that are saying like, and I don't really think they're conspiracy theories, but saying that he had cancer while he was president?
Hmm. I mean, like, I don't know, man. I think it's a very complicated situation and I don't know that I feel like I know enough to weigh in and I support peace, I think, on the Biden's cancer.
I think Biden's cancer has a right to defend itself.
Uh-huh.
And um, you know, what date was it announced? We got to think about May 24th, 2025.
Yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
His ass cheeks attacked first. So,
uh,
his his um his bones attacked the cancer. His immune system attacked the cancer first. That's what I will say. You know.
mhm.
So I think I'm on the cancer side in this stage. So. No, I mean the discourse around it has been kind of crazy because liberals have been freaking out that everybody's celebrating it. And then I mean, what else? I mean, this dude blew up cancer hospitals in Gaza, and so why should we feel bad for him? I mean, it's really a hard thing to sell. Again, it's like Brian Thompson. It's like the delegates. It's very hard to sell these evil people as innocent to us,
Yeah.
the mass public. You know,
Yeah.
unless you're within like
And
a circle, right?
mhm.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all the news. Henry, you have anything else to say?
Not really, no. It'll be interesting to see how the next week plays out. But yeah, definitely a lot not a whole lot of good news,
No,
fortunately.
no. I mean, the delegates, embassy. My mood was a little bit better than usual, but not. I won't go into specifics because we've already said too much that might get this podcast banned. But you know, all I can hope for is things get we'll see how these contradictions play out, and let's just hope that these contradictions play out in the left's favor, which it doesn't seem like it's doing currently, but we can hope in the long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, bro.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Have a good game of Hearts of Iron 4.
Yeah. No, I played Dummy Nation. I've
Oh,
never played
is
it.
that different?
It's the same game, but it's I don't know, I guess it doesn't have the Nazi connotations.
Oh. Yeah, because I thought you couldn't get anything outside of World War II for Hearts of Iron 4 without mods.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've never played it,
Mm. All right, bro.
but yeah.
Have a good one.
Anyway, take care.
Yeah. This episode of the Pokepreet Pod has been brought to you by our generous members on our Patreon. If you'd like to become one of them, go to patreon.com/thepokepreetpod. Thank you. What the fuck? Glory to Stalin. I barely made it.